We're on a journey to take the museum to its next phase. If there was ever an institution we'd like to whisper into being, it is a museum of freedom and tolerance. We want to be a portal through which to amplify the stories of our diverse society, a safe space where people can connect based on common values. Our campaign has accelerated in commemoration of the 70th anniversary of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. We are pleased to launch Invisible Ink, designed to shine a spotlight on the lack of representation of racial and religious narratives, to make hidden stories and histories visible, and to harness them in the service of a cohesive society. We strongly believe that civic institutions can play a role as change agents. When times feel tough, when the world is more divided than united, there is a need for good people to step forward to ensure that every negative act of oppression, of discrimination, has an equal and opposite reaction. We don't just need a building to do this, we need a movement. We need a way to come together as thought leaders and influencers to achieve creative and collective impact in this space and to lead with shared values. For us, these values are freedom, tolerance, respect and fairness. These values make up our architecture. We live in such a diverse part of the world. A third of us are not born here, and more than half of us have at least one parent born overseas. Our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander population is growing. What we would like to address is the issue of representation at both ends of the spectrum. Our diversity is largely unrepresented in our official history, in our stories, and in the leadership positions in the community. Where it is overrepresented is in the areas that marginalise, that impact basic human rights, and in relation to discrimination. One of the most useful roles we can play is to share stories based on values, not algorithms, to preserve stories people want to tell about themselves, to be a place where more people can see themselves in their multiplicity. Then we can build one story into 100 and collectively provide a deeper understanding of the complexity of other identities, of intersectionality in practice, to enable you to engage with people rather than the stereotypes to which bias responds. Invisible Ink speaks to the tension that exists for so many of being both invisible and too visible. The fact that the history and the stories of your culture may not exist in the mainstream narrative, that you are not seen, and further, that the invisible barriers you might face are not seen either. It also speaks to the opposite condition, the visible, that makes you stand out, that makes people see you as a stereotype. Fundamental to this idea is the act of looking. We want to shine a light on some of our less visible stories, and we want people to understand that it's all about seeing things differently. Looking is a way of activating stories from the past and the present, of rendering them visible, of putting them on the record.
The main activation of our campaign is our partnership with the West Australian Museum, and we're looking forward to delivering an international Invisible Ink Symposium together in February next year. We want to involve as many partners as possible, a community of support, because we all have an interest in a cohesive and respectful community.